Hi, I'm Bryan with Pioneer Builders. In this video of the Build Show, we're going to talk about the work it takes to get prepared with your plumbing and mechanical systems in order to get your roof on. What we've found makes the most sense is to get our plumbing vents through the roof and any other penetrations that need to be through the roof before the roofer shows up, so everything can get waterproofed, weatherproofed properly, instead of having to cut things in later. In this particular case, we have plumbing vents that need to go through the roof and just one vent that's for the microwave hood. So we'll get into what those things are, but let's talk just a little bit about the logistics. Whenever possible, I try to save trip time and potentially trip charges for subcontractors. However, I find that the trades know their job better than I do, and they can understand the logistics of what makes life simpler for everybody. Nobody likes rework, and nobody likes to be uncomfortable. So, one of the things that we have to work with, you might not be able to see it, we were just shooting outside and my glasses are wet. Yep, it's July 6th or so, raining, Washington State. Plumbers don't like working in the rain either. Nobody likes it. So if we can have the roof completely framed, completely dried in, everybody gets a comfortable place to work. The fact is we're human. And when we're physically uncomfortable, what we actually craft and put together might not be as high a quality just because we're human. So we want to give plumbers and everybody a dry place to work. But in order to make things efficient, they have to come out and make one trip in order to get our vents through the roof. We have a new plumber. I communicated with them, and they totally like doing this trip. It's short, so instead of having plumbing vents go into the house when they're doing their rough-in, they make one trip for this. One other thing to note, they do leave the plumbing boots on site. Those are the little gasket pieces that go over the top and get integrated into the roofing. So if you're working with plumbers, you might want to just do that extra little bit of communication. So we'll show you a couple of details on this guy. Number one, they have their lettering facing outwards. If you're a plumber, even if it's underground, try to have your lettering facing outwards so that people can see what it actually is. This one here is 1.5 inches. So that's kind of nice to be able to see. They didn't run it into the crawl space. That will go through the bottom plate and connect up over with the kitchen sink. Up here you can see that they pretty well centered it through the double top plate. They went up through the roof, and then they actually wrote with a Sharpie, vent is 10 inches above roof. These folks nicely left plumbing vents. You want to make sure that you communicate with the roofer as need be, with the plumber as need be. It's like the old expression, the empire was lost for the want of a shoe. You have to have things on site in order for the roofer to do his job. It's nice for the plumber because they know if they're 1.5 inches, if they're 2 inches, whatever their vents are, so they leave the plumbing boots. You just want to make sure all of that's coordinated so that when the roofer shows up, people aren't just standing there twiddling their thumbs. Originally on the plan, it shows having the kitchen sink out here in an island. It's going to be a fairly small island, about 60 inches wide, 37 inches or so for the countertop, 12-inch overhang. That's just not enough room for a sink to be very functional or to have a functional island. Kids are going to be doing homework. If you're doing baking, you want to roll things out. I would rather have a clean slab countertop. So we move the kitchen sink over here, and that's where the drain is going to drop into the crawl space, and then it'll pick up with that vent. So that's just this one little area. You can kind of see how much we have to consider just when it comes to getting in this early when it comes to the venting. If you look up high, there's not a good way to vent going straight up. You know, that's the shortest run, typically speaking, is right behind the plumbing fixture. This is a shear wall. So I don't even want them coming up over through here and just taking more meat out. So you again see that there's a lot of trades. Now we're even getting into the design engineering side of things, understanding all of these different factors and then going, that's where the plumbing vent's going to go.